Chapter 64:13. At this moment, in the freight yard specially used for loading goods for trains, dozens of workers are working in full swing. Charlie and Duncan came to the freight yard under the leadership of the person in charge. Before entering the door, Charlie used his spiritual energy to check and determined that the people here had no cultivation, no martial arts foundation, and no toxins used by the Warriors' Den to control members. Among the members of the Warriors' Den that Charlie had contacted so far, no matter how high their level was, they all had the strange poison in their bodies. And even the Fur Earls were no exception. Although Charlie did not know whether the three elders had the same poison as the 4 Earls, at least he could be sure that the 3 elders were looking for opportunities to ambush him in Nigeria and could not appear here. Therefore, Charlie could also be sure that there were no members of the Warriors' Den among these loading workers. So, Charlie and Duncan directly asked the person in charge to take them into the freight yard. On the platform, there were a large number of tightly packaged and even wooden-framed goods stacked. Workers were using small forklifts and ground bulls to transport the goods into different carriages. Seeing the person in charge bringing 2 people in, the workers looked a little surprised, but no one dared to greet him but worked harder. After Duncan asked the person in charge, he whispered to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, the loaders here work in 12-hour shifts and 2 shifts, loading the goods to be shipped in the freight yard 24 hours a day. According to regulations, they must load all the goods as required within the specified time. The yard will hand over the loading list to the person in charge. It does not include the train number and marshalling information, only the cargo number and the number of the carriage to be loaded. These loaders only know which batch of goods will be loaded into which carriages. As for what the cargo is, which carriages will form a train, and where the train will be sent after loading, they don't know." After a pause, Duncan continued. The foreman led the workers to load all the carriages as required. And after the inventory is completed and confirmed to be correct, after that, a one-time seal lock must be put on the closed door, and then it can be transported. The consignee must check the seal after receiving the goods, and then open the seal and count the goods after confirming that it is correct. Charlie nodded. There were many closed carriages with code sprayed on the tracks on both sides of the platform. A rough look showed that there were at least 60 or 70 carriages. So he asked Duncan, "Which of these are Duke Mining's goods?" Duncan took out tomorrow's transportation plan, found the train information of Duke Mining, and said, "The information of Duke Mining's 20 carriages is all here. We can check them one by one." Charlie nodded, and together with Duncan and the person in charge, he began to check the carriage numbers, and soon found several carriages that were being loaded, with the person in charge beside them. Charlie and Duncan walked in with a swagger and took a look. The carriages were about half full, and most of the goods were packed in cartons. They took up an area of about 1 square meter and were about 2 meters high. There were special wooden frames outside the cartons for protection. Duncan recognized the logo on the packaging at a glance and said to Charlie, "These are from Philil, an American company specializing in the production of thermal imaging equipment. It is considered a global leader. And their equipment is not only thermal imaging, but also various night vision devices and drones." Charlie glanced at it and saw that there were more than a dozen boxes with the Philil logo printed on them. He couldn't help asking, "Do you need so many night vision and infrared devices?" Duncan said, "Duke Mining covers such a large area. If you really want to achieve infrared and thermal imaging monitoring without blind spots, you may really need so many devices. Moreover, building a huge security system is not like buying a few wireless cameras at home and connecting them to the power supply. Wireless network is enough. Security systems cannot only have front-end equipment. Back-end equipment is a bigger project. Generally, there are hundreds of surveillance probes in a building. To maintain these hundreds of cameras, an independent machine room is needed. Each camera needs an average of hundreds of meters of lines to connect to the machine room. Various switching equipment needs to be built to connect them. Then, with the control system and storage system, the volume will be very amazing.